I'm Jenny Park, and mine is maybe not as humorous as the others, so just keep that in mind. Ready? I'm talking about transportation tonight because it's what I most care about and because I don't think it gets talked about in a relatable way. The roots of my interest in transportation go back to the 18 months I lived in a small city in northern Japan, and I rode this bike and walked everywhere I needed to go. As an introvert, I found teaching English all day to be really challenging. So every morning I walked or biked to the market or just for fun. This time of exploration and quiet observation kept me feeling grounded as I made a home in a foreign place. I learned that you see a lot more outside of a car. Some weekends I bicycled to Horizon-me, a neighboring town with several World Heritage sites. On one ride I noticed this Buddha carved into the cliff face on the right there. I later found out it was carved in the 9th century. On a bicycle I felt a sense of adventure and also reward. In 2009 I came back to Chattanooga to start on my Master of Public Administration. This program taught me to think about policy impacts and more generally how to find smarter, more efficient ways to do things. And because of my interest, I focused my research on the cost of transportation, and I found that being in a car-dependent society, we've got impacts beyond the amount of space dedicated to parking and roads. In 1969, 50% of American kids walked or biked to school. In 2009, the figure is 13%. There are lots of reasons for this shift, but the results are that our kids are not only less healthy, the reliance on being driven everywhere has left them unable to navigate their world. To me, there's something satisfying about the effort and thought it takes to get to where I'm going. I'm more prepared for my day when I bike to work, and I have to walk somewhere on my lunch break just to clear my head. That's important to me, but a lot of people still drive for even super short trips. And that's fine, because the message is not to stop driving. For me, the message is that driving isn't always the best option, or it's at least not the only option. And because I love it so much, I have to try kind of hard not to preach on the virtues of non-motorized transportation. But there was a year that I lived in Chattanooga and didn't bike. Japan and Europe were different places, where the culture supported biking, walking, transit, so much that it was easier than driving. So when I got back, I did start walking more places and even had a monthly bus pass. But I couldn't bring myself to get a bike. The roads and drivers were just too different. The one night I worked a double. I was dreading the walk from downtown to my house in North Chattanooga. I was exhausted and my feet were killing me. So my coworker convinced me to take her bike. I had no reason not to ride. I took it up Tremont and heaved my way up there and flew down the hill to my house. And that was all I needed. Fast forward to 2012, and I finished grad school, and with support from a mentor, I organized our first statewide bike summit. And 2 weeks ago, I attended the second annual Tennessee Bike Summit in Memphis, where I learned from national leaders in the bicycle and pedestrian field, and was part of the statewide network of planners, engineers, and advocates working to improve our facilities. One of the ways that I and some of my friends here tonight are doing this is from bicycle safety education. I became a league cycling instructor through funding from the Main Street Bike Co-op, and I'm grateful to be able to show people how to be comfortable and safe on the road, and also how to be ambassadors for cycling. This confidence often comes through practice with other riders. The visibility, protection, and social interaction inherent in group bike rides can ease a person into riding alone on a regular basis. And I'm also excited to be in the company of a group in the growing community of women who ride bikes. Nationally, as well as in Chattanooga, only 1 in 4 bicyclists is female. I have colleagues and I have friends who are both strong women and strong bicyclists, some of them riding when it was considered a totally absurd activity. Colleen Carboni, that's for you. I say all of this because I've spent the last 2.5 years doing my small part, along with many others, to promote and improve bicycling in the city. And in doing that, and just by being a part of our bicycling community, I get approached by people who want to bike, but have all these reasons that they feel like they can't. So I think it's that gap that interests me, the distance between wanting to do something and feeling equipped to do it. And I don't know how to address it, but I'm really happy with all the people working to make that entrance into bicycling a little easier. Whether it's by hosting bike derby or group rides, or by just being out there on the street. And I want to also recognize that there are people in this city, in both government and the private sector, who make a point to push for infrastructure that considers the impact of traffic on human relationships. There are real examples of thinking and planning that's focused on people and places rather than just buildings and traffic. A figure that sticks in my mind all the time is that 35% of Americans don't drive. Either they're too young, too old, too poor, physically unable, or they choose not to. My hope for Chattanooga is to see the status of biking, walking, and transit elevated to normality. For bicycling, it's absolutely true that there's safety in numbers. So I get excited to see that our numbers in Chattanooga are growing. And I'm hopeful to see the same for other modes. I believe that mobility across ages, incomes, and physical abilities is an indicator of our city's integrity. I've learned a lot since traveling and entering the professional arena, but I think what has meant the most to me as a person and helped me grow the most is just having this community of people who feel strong enough and confident enough to sort of make a stand out there on the road. So sometimes I feel a little bit like we're fighting with 4,000 pounds of steel, but we're doing what we can, and I appreciate every one of you, all that you're doing, and that's all.